Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all had a good weekend. Do weekends still mean something? Even before this, weekends didn't mean much to me since I work from home, stay at home, homeschool. Weekends weren't really different other than I had one more person in the house. But I hope you all had a good weekend and everybody is staying healthy. Wanted to do a little show and tell, and then I have a project I'm working on that I want to share with you. So I have been taking an opportunity to go through some of the art books that I have collected over the years and just never gotten around to going through. So I've decided to try to do one a week. So this one I worked on last week, called If You Can Doodle, You Can Paint, by Diane Culhane. And I was drawn to it because doodling is just another word for mark making. I think mark making is the fancy artsy term, but really it's just doodling. And I enjoy doodling so much that I have a doodle book it's a book of jelly prints that then I doodle on. So I will locate that and show it to you in the future. But I wanted to work through this book because I thought it would help me bring some interest to my doodles, my mark making that's in my art, just to have something different. You know, my go-to is dots, circles, sometimes a squiggly line, but dots and circles are my big ones. Like that's my comfort zone. But I thought, well, if I work through this book, maybe I'll come up with some other ones. And I like the book, how it's broken out, because it's different exercises. She does have a whole page of supplies you can use, but really you just need a pen and some paper or a pencil. But then how she has it broken out is there are exercises to do. So testing out your pens and pencils to get different line qualities, because you can make the same mark with 3 different things and it looks different. She has this wall of paper, which I'm really jealous of, but I do not have a wall in my studio. So I did enjoy, oh, here's the wall. Look at that. Wouldn't you just love that? Of course, if I had that and I had that studio, I would spend the entire day just doodling. I don't know if I would ever get anything else done, but I do enjoy doodling. But so she has all these different exercises and she tells you what to do, and so it just gets you out of your norm and thinking. And I haven't done all of the exercises yet. I kind of went through and picked out some of the ones that I wanted to do. And I was just doing them on some scrap paper, or I was doing them on my newsprint that was on my table. But I started to think that maybe I needed to keep a doodle library or a mark making library. So I grabbed a sketchbook that I had laying around, because, you know, don't we all buy these when they're buy one get one free? So I have a stack of them. This one is from Maryland. I moved to Florida in 1998. No, 97. So this is an antique sketchbook. It says April of 95. I bought it at MJ Designs, which was a store in Maryland. So there's proof I don't ever throw anything away, apparently. But look, I'm using it now. So good thing I didn't throw it away. So I started this book, and I am only a couple pages in. First, of course, I had to go to my circles. But what could I do inside of a circle? Instead of just making my circles or making my dots, could I make something more interesting? Obviously, I wouldn't use all of these on one item. But if I were just pick one, like the circle with the lines through it, and use that over and over again, or I just thought of this, I could actually draw that and make a stencil out of it. Anyway, that's a different show. But so every once in a while I stop and I work on this page and just come up with some different designs. So it just gets my brain working. In this book, the only thing I'm using right now is my platinum carbon ink pen. That's what I'm drawing all of this with, because I like how it feels. I like how it writes. So I haven't branched out and grabbed my Sharpie or my Poscas or anything else. Of course, I had to have a page of coffee cups, because you never know when you might want to draw a coffee cup. And then some birds. So you can see, like, I'm just creating a page of something, and then I move on to something else. But I like little wonky birds, so I thought, well, let's come up with a different wonky bird. So that's the one I came up with. It's kind of a cross between like a kindergarten fish and a bird. And then different lines, because again, I tend to do the same lines over and over again. And then this is from one of the exercises in the book. So she has you draw 7 circles in some configuration and 7 lines. So these were different ways that I came up with that, and somehow it led me to this. And again, these little kind of rock formations. But again, it's just making me branch out a little. Of course, back to my circles, but these are completely different than any circles. These are cocktail olives too, apparently. But these are different than circles I've done before. And then this one I saw in her book, so I went ahead and copied it because I like how that looks, the lines with the little dots. It reminds me when you were a kid and you would do the dot to dot, and you'd have to follow the numbers to draw a picture. And then little landscape doodles. So it started with some flowers or palm trees, depending on how big that drawing is. Cityscape and some trees. And then I just started a page of houses. So that's as far as I've gotten. But I've been trying to pull this out every day and at least work on this first page, doing a couple circles just to kind of loosen myself up and get my brain working. So I wanted to share that with you because I thought that's fun. It's something to do. You can even sit on the sofa and do it. You don't really have to be in your studio. And then I'm back to bookmaking. So I made another mini book. This one is actually if you're familiar with the zine fold. So this is one piece of paper. It was actually a file folder that I had jelly printed on. So it's a manila file folder. This is the center section. You can kind of see the fold lines. Maybe not on camera, but so that's the center of the file, and I cut it down so it was an even shape for when I folded it. So this is just one of those books where you do a hamburger fold, and then you open it, and then you do a hot dog fold, and then you come back and you go to your hamburger and you make the slider fold, which is the half of a hamburger, to make your book. So I did that. I had jelly printed on both sides, so I could pick which side I wanted to add on to, and I like this side better. So once you have your folds done, you open it back out to a hamburger, and you cut just this center section to the fold, so that then when you fold it in your hot dog shape, you push it into the center, and then you can maneuver it into a book. Now I'll tell you, when you fold it, it's going to be wonky, so you have to kind of manhandle it and use your bone folder to get it to stay down. And then I'm just using this giant paper clip right now to hold it closed, because I didn't want to spend the time making a real closure. So I just worked through this book. All the clip art that's in here is from Art by Marlene's die cut sheets or die cut book. Most of it is from this one. Again, these don't have numbers on them, and this is an old one, I believe, from last year. So I don't know if you'll find it, but her new ones are out there too. I've had a few friends that have found them on Etsy. And I'm sure she's coming out with more because they seem to be pretty popular. I'm kind of late to the Art by Marlene train because it's a UK product, I believe, or at least European. So, but you can use any clip art you want. I just went ahead and embellished. I added some black gesso, I added some black marker, and then I glued down. I also added these little tabs. So these are just my little tab punch, and I had some of the leftover file folder I had trimmed off to make it an even fold. So I just made some tabs, but more of the black gesso. I added some white doodles. That's the clip art die cut. Some hearts. And then another little girl. I like her little girls. And then I did some circular journaling there. So it was just a project. I do find that if I'm sitting at my desk and I don't know what to do, I tend to make a book. So I have 2 others that I've already started. So you'll be seeing those soon, hopefully. So wanted to show you that. I've also been posting about the Delusions dialogue book that I've been working in every day. So I wanted to show you, I've been posting some pictures of it on Instagram. But Diane Reevely's been doing a daily series on YouTube called Day by Day for the whole month of April. Now, I'm not following along. I watch her videos and I use them as inspiration, but I don't have her clip art. So it happened accidentally that the first page I did, I used a magazine page that was sitting on my desk. I had a picture of RuPaul, because doesn't everybody? So page 1 kind of happened just because I needed something there, and Ru needed a home, so I glued her down. But then it just became a thing. So now this is my book of magazine collage. So this was another thing I pulled out of a magazine. Of course, she's out of a, can't you tell, she's out of a Neutrogena ad. She just looks like a Neutrogena model. But it's giving me a chance to use up, I think a couple videos back I showed you a bunch of magazine pages I pulled out. And most of them weren't exact images, like photos. But there were things that I said I would use for texture. So this is one of them. This was a page of cherries. So I just used my hole punch, my circle punch, to cut out that page and glued them down and added them to her and some stickers I had laying around. I'm doing these really quick. I don't really think about them. I'm just trying to get one done every day. Working on some lettering, because that's always been a challenge for me. And again, some hydrangeas that were out of a magazine, and I just added some white dots to them. So these are really quick and simple. This apple page was another one I pulled out of a magazine because I thought it would be cool in a background or somewhere. And then some washi tape, and I added some circles that I saw in the washi tape, so I just repeated those. This is about as close to Diane's style as I get. I was just trying it out. So the models with the interchangeable eyes and lips, and then their bodies are made out of packing tape that I pulled off of my jelly plate. And I just cut them in a loose body shape. And again, this border is something that Diane does a lot, and she uses her stencils, but I've just been using my Permapack black marker and just making my own borders. And then today I just did this one. I had this picture. This is actually Martha Stewart when she was a child. It was at the back of one of her magazines, and I just thought it was a cool picture because she doesn't look very happy. But if you look at it close, she looks like Martha Stewart. So, and then considering our situation, I thought all dressed up and nowhere to go was the perfect quote. So, and I've already glued this down because I had this page that was black, and I found her in a magazine, so I stuck her in there already. But I just like working through this book. Diane has all kinds of videos, and she even shows you how to prep the book. So every page already has color on it, and that's why it's so fast. So I really just come to a page and I start gluing down. I don't add, here I add some stamping. Here I added marker, but the background was already done. Same here. So sometimes I doodle on the background, or I add, this is some Posca marker that I just colored around the image to make it stand out a little more. But I'm not spending any time on my backgrounds, which I think is fun. Just to be able to grab a book and glue some stuff down, put a quote on it, and call it a day. So I've been using this as my warm-up, and then I'm also still doing the 100-day project. So this year I decided to do faces, so I just have this little book that I had laying around. And I've been doing, right now I've been doing, they're not all one-line faces, but I've been trying to do more of the one-line face because it's a challenge for me. This one obviously is not a one-line because not everything's connected, but I like it so much I think I might carve it into a stamp, so I may do that on here one day. But again, it's just something that's making me branch out and try something different because this is not my normal style. So those are my warm-ups now, and then I get to bookmaking apparently. So that was show and tell for today. So I wanted to show you another project I've been working on. This is one that I've thought about for a long time and I just never started it. So if you are a fabric person, you may have heard of a snippet roll, where people take all their little bits and scraps of fabric and they sew them onto a piece of muslin, and then they can use it in a junk journal or wherever. And some people do them with paper, and I've been wanting to do one. I just hadn't got to it because I was making books, but I decided to start one. So this is the beginning of my snippet roll, and so all I started with is, this is a roll of brown paper. It's from the hardware store. It's called masking paper. It's the paper that you would use like if you were painting the trim in your house, so you would tape it down. This doesn't have any adhesive on it, so this is just the paper. They have fancy ones that have the tape on it, but you don't want that one. I usually have the most luck finding this one at Ace Hardware. So that's where I usually find it. I've never had luck finding it at Lowe's or Home Depot, but you might have better luck in your area. So all I've been doing is just grabbing little pieces of whatever's on my desk. Again, a lot of this is magazine. Things that I pulled out because I like the texture. Like this was a pot of alfalfa sprouts, but I like the texture. This was some beach glass. These are actually Easter eggs off of the front of a Martha Stewart Living magazine. And then I have little bits and pieces of security envelopes because I saved them all because nobody mails their bills in anymore. But I keep all the envelopes and then I use them for my collage. So I was going to go ahead and work on this today just to show you how I build it up. And all I did was, because I wanted to have some place to roll it up, so I just took part of a paper towel tube and washi taped it on. So then as I work, I can just roll it this way, and then I just pull this roll out so that I have some space to work on. So if you can't find this masking paper, you can use any thin paper. Like I think a cash register receipt would be good. Even if you have just printer paper, just cut it into an even thickness, because if you're taping it together, you're not going to see it once you collage on top of it. For collage, I'm just using my Oohoo stick, and I have a pile of stuff. So one thing I do is I have this little bowl on my desk, and I've been trying to clean up my desk when I'm done for the day. It doesn't always happen, but I've been trying, so that when I come in the morning, I at least have a place to work, and the first thing I have to do is not cleaning. So what I do is, as I'm finishing for the day, I just rummage around my desk and grab all the little bits and pieces that are left over, and I throw them in this bowl, including this painted paper towel. Yes, I kept that too. Oh, and this is a piece of packing tape that I use to clean off my palette over here. So I just have all of these little bits and pieces. Here's some more of that packing tape I pulled off of the jelly plate that I used in the little Diane journal. Apparently I thought this was a very important green piece of paper, so we might use that. So the only restrictions I have is that I don't use anything thick. So for example, this is like manila card stock. I wouldn't use this because it's not going to roll very easily, and it's going to be too bulky, because the point of the snippet roll is as you start collaging, you grab little bits and pieces of what you have, and this is going to be a lot harder to glue down and have even, so I won't use things like that. Even this cardstock is probably a little too heavy, so I'll throw those back in because I might use them for something else. But so I have all those little bits and pieces. I also have some book pages and some graph paper that I might use. I still have a stack of magazine. So for example, here's the, remember I said there were some Easter eggs? That's where I pulled that little bit from. And you can kind of tell I worked in somewhat of a color format. Like this was lots of blues and greens. So I may work in another color. Just because as you're using collage, most likely you're going to try to match something up. And then I just have this little bag of bigger bits that I can dig into. There's some brown paper. I probably won't use brown paper because I'm gluing onto brown paper, but I have some gold tissue. I've got more security envelopes in here. So there's little bits and pieces. This is kind of my travel collage bag. So I am just going to start, I'm going to start by looking through these magazine pages because I want to see if there's some sort of color story that I could continue. So if I can move from the blues into something else, kind of like those flowers. And you'll see, once I get them down, they don't even, I mean, you didn't know that was an Easter egg until I told you. Maybe we'll go with a flower theme. Oh, there's a little bit of purple in there. So that'll help me transition from the blues and greens. So I'll start with this and I'll add some, I think I'll add some book page behind it. These are actually German book pages. I found this at a antique store. So, and it's really old, you can tell. I just like how it tears. So I usually just get myself a little pile. And then, I don't know if I've ever given you guys this tip before. When I'm using my glue stick, I have an old magazine that I keep handy, and I do my glue on there so that then I don't have glue all over my sheet, my newsprint or whatever, in my craft sheet, whatever's under me. And then whenever this page gets a little too gluey, I can just flip to another page. So eventually this whole magazine will be glued together. Trying to work and make sure that you guys can still see everything too. So I'll just add some book page, and usually I just work on whatever I can stretch out on my desk. So that's maybe 18 inches. And that's all I work on at a time. And then I roll it up, and next day or whenever I do it next, I will keep adding on to it. I have a feeling though that this is going to be one of those things that I end up finishing it and I never want to cut it up. I just unroll it and look at it and then roll it back up. But we'll see. If that's what it is, then maybe that's what it was meant to be. Sometimes we just need things that are pretty. Whenever I make all these little books, I've had several people who have asked me, oh, what are you going to do with that? And I always tell them, I'm going to pet it and tell it it's pretty. because I just like having pretty stuff to look at. Sometimes I use my brayer just to make sure I get everything pressed down. Especially this. This is the front cover of that Martha Stewart Living magazine, so it's a tiny bit thicker. It's not quite cardstock, but it's thicker than any of the other papers I'm using. So I want to make sure that it gets pressed down really good. So it's just another way of using up things that you may have laying around and would have gone in the recycle bin anyway. So I'm going to add a little bit of this graph paper. I love graph paper. I've found out that this one actually bleeds if you get it wet, so I used it when I did some eco dyeing, and I wasn't unhappy about that because it ended up looking really cool. It doesn't bleed when I just use the glue stick on it though. And you notice I start to overlap pieces a little bit. I don't fill in the whole thing. You'll see back here some of the areas that aren't filled in. I just come in with my Posca marker, and of course I added dots. But you can add whatever you want. You can even color it in with a Posca marker, or you can just leave it brown. I love craft paper, so if there's craft paper peeking through, I won't be upset about that. I want to make sure that I'm touching the last section so that it looks like a continuation. It doesn't necessarily look like I stopped and started. This is a great project to do if you want to be in your studio but you don't know what to work on, or it's one of those days where you really just want to watch Netflix or something on your iPad. So I just have my iPad set right there, so a lot of times I will just put on a show and then just sit here and glue. Or sometimes I watch YouTube videos and sit here and glue. So I feel like I'm doing something. I'm accomplishing something in my studio, but it's not requiring a lot of brain power. This paper I'm gluing down is actually from a chemistry handbook, and it is super, super thin. It's like the thinnest paper I have ever felt that wasn't tissue paper or transfer paper. So I love using it. I mean, even before you put glue stick on it, you can read the other side through it. And it's just all of these chemistry references and charts and things that I don't understand at all. And it's funny because it's a book from the late 50s. It is pure white. So I don't know what kind of unicorn magic paper they used, or where this book has been for the past 50 years, but it has not aged at all. And the book is huge. It's at least, I'd say, 3 or 4 inches thick, and as thin as this paper is, there's probably 2,000 sheets of paper. I will be giving this book to my grandchildren, and they will wonder what their grandmother did, that she had a chemistry handbook that's half torn apart. So I feel like I want to add some more color in. I want to come to this first one because, again, I have those purples. I think that's a nice transition, and then I'm going to move into the pink. That actually would have been a good page even if you just wanted to glue down in a journal and then start working around it, but I just liked it for the colors. So I just want to grab some pieces out of here. To add in. You can even add washi tape into this. It's another great way to use up the 412 rolls of washi tape that we all have. In fact, once I get some more stuff down, I will add some washi, because I didn't to the first one, because you know, we have so many things that we can pull from, it's hard to remember them all at once. And especially if I'm just sitting here watching a show, I'm not necessarily trying to be my most creative. So, see, my page is getting a little sticky, so I just flip it over to a new page and move on. And then I don't have to deal with all the glue being on my underpaper or on my palette or on me. I have been known to use my lap when I'm gluing, so it's better to have this magazine hanging around. And I don't worry if I go off, like that little bit is hanging off, and I'd be fine just leaving it there, or you can trim it if it bothers you. I think I'm done with that page. Got book pages, so let me grab some washi tape. This was just the quick one I can get to. So this one's calling out to me because it's got some purples and some pinks. So I'm just going to tear some pieces. I always like to add a little bit of glue stick underneath of my washi tape, just to make sure it'll stay a little longer. Especially as washi tape starts to get older, it tends to lose its stickiness. So I'm just going to add some little bits and pieces here and there. They'll probably be covered up a little bit with the next layers that I put down, so, but I'm just not thinking about stuff very much, because I know that I'm never going to use this whole section. I mean, most likely I am going to grab a circle punch and pull a section out of it, like I did in the dialogue with the cherry page. I would just do something like that, or I would grab a little bit to glue down and start painting over. So let's see what else we have. I'm going to use a little bit of this one. This, I don't even know where I got this tape. It's not washi tape because the back peels off and you can't tear it. You have to cut it. It feels almost a little plasticky, but I have it in these. Like this one is just all numbers. This one is like a script text, or it looks like a ledger. And I love it, but it's kind of a pain because you've got to try to peel the backing off of it. So I don't use it as much. That's why I've had it so long, I think. Because I go to use it and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to peel that one. And I usually have glue on my hands or something. So then I don't use it because I can't get the backing off. But now is a perfect time. So I found if you cut a bigger piece and peel it once, and then cut it down to the size that you want. But you guys probably don't have this tape because honestly, it's ancient. I don't think it moved here from Maryland with me because I don't think we had washi tape back then. But it's pretty old. I remember I bought it at in a 3-pack, but I don't remember where I bought it. So, got little bits and pieces of that down. I got that washi. Let's see if there's any others in here I want to use up. I'll add a little bit of this one. No. I want to add some stamping, so that's it for washi tape. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of pink because I said I'm kind of transitioning from the blues through the purples and into pink. again, it doesn't matter 100%. It gives me something to focus on, because if not, I end up looking at my paper scraps and just throwing all the colors together. So at least this way it has a little bit of rhythm to it, so it doesn't feel quite so crazy. And like I said, I like to overlap so that just because I put that book page down or the washi tape doesn't mean I'm not going to come back and put something over it. Oh, I know I have this little piece. Isn't it funny how sometimes you remember stuff so well? Like, I can't remember where I got that washi tape from. I remember I bought a 3-pack, but this is a scrap of paper I actually brought home from Donna Downey's studio when I was up there for a collage painting class. I had a little strip of it, so I just threw it in my bag that I hadn't used. And this is the last little bit of it, so I'm going to add that in here at the end, because it's been sitting on my desk and I was worried that it was going to get swept into the trash or something. So I think I might cut a little bit of this. So remember, this is the packing tape that was on. You can decide which one. I think I'm going to use the shiny side up just because I like the colors on that side better. And the shininess doesn't bother me. So I just want to stick that down and, again, have it somewhere so it doesn't get lost. I like it so much I might grab some more. Except this one's black. I'll save that one. So I have that little paint, and I'm going to grab some stamps. I just want to add a little bit of texture. So I have this set of stamps that are just sitting here. It has chickens in it, but the one I like looks like chicken wire. So that's the one I'm going to use today. And then I have my archival and watering can, because I didn't want it black. I just wanted to add a little bit here and there. You can see I don't use a block when I'm doing this, because I don't want the whole image. I just want little bits and pieces here and there. I might even come and add some onto that area that I've already done, because again, it creates that ongoing pattern that your eye recognizes even if you don't mentally think about it. Again, this roll is supposed to be torn up and used, and I'm acting like it's going to be some precious journal that I'm going to keep forever, which I probably am. So, just a little bit. And so, to me, that's enough that those little brown areas have kind of blended into the background for me. But if you want it to, you could always grab your Posca. This is the Posca in Ivory. I like this one. So I use the white pen here, and it's very stark and very bright. But sometimes I like to use this ivory one, especially when I'm using these cream colored papers, because I feel like it's not quite so stark, so bright. But you could just as easily come in with your pen and just pick a few areas and add your dots. Oh, I have a little area here I forgot. And what I do, if I have a brown area and I'm trying to blend it in, you'll see I add a couple dots onto this magazine collage, onto that one, onto this piece of washi, so that it brings everything together. If I was just to fill in the brown area with dots, it doesn't really blend it in. It just makes it stand out as another, if that makes sense. So that's my collage bit for the day. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll it up. That's the nice thing about using a glue stick, is it's pretty much dry when you're done. So I just roll it to there, and then I roll my other roll of paper back to it, and then I have a rubber band I just put around both, and then it just sits on my desk waiting for the next day. So there's another idea for you to give you something to do during our quarantine, during our shutdown. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you later. Happy arting.